Love is like the morning mist upon the mountain, soft, serene, and seemingly eternal. Yet as the sun rises, the mist dissipates, revealing the bare, unyielding stone beneath. Why does love change? Why do people who once looked at you with warmth suddenly turn away with cold indifference? In Zen and Buddhist philosophy, impermanence, anicca, is one of the fundamental truths of existence. All things, including emotions, relationships, and attachments, are subject to change. The Buddha once said, "Just as a river never clings to the banks it passes, so too does the heart flow from one state to another." When someone loses their love for you, they do not announce it with great ceremony. Instead, they do two things, two silent yet profound actions that mark the death of what once was. To understand these, let us walk into a story, a Zen parable of love, loss, and the wisdom of letting go, the story of the falling leaves. There was once a traveller, a man of deep thought and quiet nature, who lived his days seeking an understanding of the heart. He had known love, felt its warmth, and believed in its eternity. Yet one day, the one he loved, the one who once held his hand with gentle certainty, began to change. At first it was subtle, like the first leaf that falls from a tree before autumn fully arrives. Then the changes became unmistakable. Words became fewer, glances became shorter, and the air between them thickened with the silence of unspoken truths. Seeking wisdom, the traveller went to an old monk who lived in the mountains, a man whose presence was like still water, calm, reflective, and full of unseen depths. "Master," the traveller asked, "I fear that love is slipping from my grasp. The one who once walked beside me now walks ahead, indifferent to whether I follow or not. What have I done wrong?" The old monk closed his eyes for a moment and then spoke. "When love fades, it does not vanish like smoke in the wind. It withdraws like the tide, revealing the shore that was always there. There are two things that people do when they lose their love for you. Watch closely, and you will see. They withhold their presence." The monk took the traveller to a small garden where a tree stood tall, its branches wide, providing shade. A young bird rested in the tree, chirping happily. "Do you see this bird?" the monk asked. The traveller nodded. "Now, watch." The monk gently waved his hand, and the bird, sensing the disturbance, flew away. "Love," the monk said, "is like this bird. When it is comfortable, it lingers, singing, making a home in your presence. But when love begins to fade, it will withdraw subtly at first. They will no longer sit close to you, their laughter will not be as free, their words will no longer flow like a river, but drip like the last drops from an empty jug. This is the first sign. When someone loses their love for you, they withhold their presence, even if their body remains." The traveller frowned. "But why do they not simply tell me? Why this slow withdrawal instead of honesty?" The monk smiled gently. "Because they themselves are still learning the truth. Love does not disappear all at once. It fades like the last ember of a dying fire. A person does not wake up and decide to stop loving. Rather, they realize it as the days pass. Their heart becomes a silent traveller, already walking away while their body remains." The traveller looked down, his heart heavy. "So what should one do? Should I chase after them? Should I beg them to stay?" The monk shook his head. "Would you chase the bird that has flown away? Would you beg the tree to hold on to its falling leaves? No, my dear traveller. When love withdraws, do not run after it. Instead, honour its passage. Love that is forced to stay is no longer love. It is a prisoner in the heart's cage." The traveller sighed, feeling the weight of the monk's words settle in his chest, but he was not yet satisfied. "And the second thing?" he asked. "What else do people do when love fades?" "They become someone else." The monk led the traveller further into the garden, where a pond lay still and clear, reflecting the sky above. "Look into the water," the monk instructed. The traveller bent down and saw his reflection staring back at him. It was familiar, yet somehow different in the shifting ripples. "Now observe." The monk picked up a small stone and dropped it into the pond. The water trembled, the reflection shattered, and in its place was a new form, distorted, unfamiliar. "When someone loses their love for you," the monk explained, "they do not only withdraw their presence, they become someone else. The person who once laughed at your jokes, who once sought your company, will now seem like a stranger. Their face is the same, but their heart is elsewhere. Their words no longer carry warmth. Their touch no longer holds meaning. This is the second sign. The one you knew is gone, replaced by someone different." The traveller clenched his hands. But why? How can love transform a person so much? The monk looked at him with infinite patience. Because love is identity. When one loves, they become intertwined with another, like two trees growing side by side. But when love fades, the roots untangle. They seek a different soil, a different sky. The person you see now is not the person who loved you, for they have shed that skin. You grieve not only for lost love, but for the person they once were. Tears filled the traveller's eyes. So what should one do when this happens? How does one bear such loss? The path of letting go. The monk took a deep breath as if inhaling the sorrow of the traveller, and then exhaled it with infinite peace. "You do nothing," he said. "You accept." "Accept," the traveller repeated, his voice breaking. "Yes, accept that all things change. Accept that love, like the seasons, must shift. Do not chase after what is already leaving, and do not mourn what is already transformed. Instead, be still like the pond when the ripples fade, and you will see the truth." "And what is the truth?" the traveller whispered. The monk smiled, his eyes filled with the light of deep understanding. "The truth is that love does not belong to you. It never did. It flows through you, visits you, changes you, but it is not yours to keep. When love leaves, do not grasp at it. Instead, bow to it, thank it for its time, and let it go, like the last leaf in autumn." The traveller wiped his tears. He looked at the pond again, watching as the water slowly returned to stillness. He understood now. Love is not a possession but a guest, and when it leaves, one must not lock the door. One must bow and let it pass, the wisdom of impermanence. The traveller's journey did not end at the monastery, nor did his lesson stop with the monk's words. The path before him was long, winding through valleys of memory and mountains of longing. Yet, as he walked, he found that each step was lighter than the last. The weight of loss had not vanished, but it had become something else, something softer, something he could carry without breaking under its burden. What had changed? It was not the pain of love's departure that had lessened, nor was it the reality of being left behind. What had transformed was his attachment to love itself. He had stopped thinking of love as a thing to be kept, as a possession that could be lost. Instead, he began to see love as the monk had described it, a river, a bird, a season. In Zen teachings, suffering, du'e, arises from our desire to hold on to things that are, by their nature, fleeting. We want permanence in a world where nothing remains unchanged. We want security in a realm where everything moves, shifts, and dissolves. This is why losing love is so painful, because we believe we have lost something that should have lasted forever. But the truth is, love was never ours to lose. Understanding the two signs more deeply, the two signs the monk spoke of, withdrawing presence and becoming someone else, are not acts of cruelty, nor are they betrayals. They are the natural unfolding of impermanence in relationships. When love fades, people retreat. They stop reaching out. Their laughter is no longer shared in the same way. This absence is painful, but in its pain there is wisdom. It teaches us that love is not just words or promises. It is action, presence, energy. Love cannot exist where presence is absent. If someone no longer wishes to share their presence with you, they have already walked away in their heart. But this withdrawal is also a gift. It is the universe telling you to let go. It is showing you that love cannot be forced, that it cannot be begged for or demanded. If someone no longer offers their presence, do not chase after them. Instead, turn inward and offer presence to yourself. Sit with your pain. Do not run from it. Watch it, understand it, and in doing so, you will begin to heal. The becoming of someone else, the second sign, is even more painful because it is not just distance, it is transformation. The person who once loved you, who once understood your heart, now seems foreign. They laugh at different things, speak with a different tone, and walk a path that no longer includes you. Why does this happen? Because love changes us. When two people come together in love, they share experiences, thoughts, and emotions that shape who they are. But when love fades, they start reshaping themselves again, this time away from you. Transformation is not an act of malice. It is simply nature at work, just as a caterpillar does not remain a caterpillar forever. People do not remain in the same emotional states. They evolve, sometimes together, sometimes apart. When you see this change, do not resist it. Do not try to remind them of who they were. That person no longer exists. Instead, bow to the person they have become and let them walk their own path. How to let go without bitterness. One of the greatest challenges of love's impermanence is learning to let go without anger, without resentment, without clinging to bitterness. Buddhist wisdom teaches that resentment is like holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. So how do we release love when it no longer wishes to stay? First, honor what was. Instead of focusing on the pain of loss, remember the beauty of what once existed. Be grateful for the moments of love, for they were real. Do not chase the bird. If someone has withdrawn their love, let them go. Chasing them will only prolong your suffering. Release attachment, not love. Love does not have to be tied to possession. You can love someone and still let them go. Love does not mean holding, it means wishing them happiness, even if it is without you. Turn towards yourself. Often, when we grieve lost love, we believe we have lost a part of ourselves. But this is an illusion. You are still whole. Love did not complete you. It only reflected the love that was already within you. The ultimate truth. Love is not gone. It is transformed. At the end of his journey, the traveller came to a great river. He stood at its edge and watched as the water flowed endlessly forward. He thought about the one who had left him. He thought about the pain, the longing, the night spent wondering why. And then, as he watched the river, he understood. Love had not disappeared. It had simply changed form. The love he once knew had become something else, a lesson, a memory, a part of his own growth. It had left him, but in leaving, it had also shaped him. The love that had once been in another's eyes was now in his own reflection. Love had not died. It had simply moved, as all things must. With this realization, the traveller did not cry, he did not grieve. Instead, he bowed, not to loss, not to pain, but to love itself, in all its forms. And then he walked forward, not in search of love, but in acceptance of it, wherever it may come and however it may leave. For love is not something to be held, it is something to be lived. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell to ensure you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. Hey!